Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Susie Carder hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to make your first step towards explosive business growth, this is the right podcast for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Susie.
Welcome to Power Your Profit podcast. I am your host, Susie Carder, and I'm excited to share with you Jane Deuber. She's a sought-after business strategist, best-selling author, and a 7-time successful entrepreneur. Bananas, going on her 8th business. Through her 2 technology company, Jane helps coaches, consultants, and authors leverage their expertise by launching sought-after certification programs, as well as supercharge their client acquisition process by harnessing the power of assessments. If you know me, you know I love assessments. I'm actually one of Jane's clients, and we're colleagues together. Jane's current obsession is Magpie, the world's most effective assessment software that enables you to attract highly qualified leads and spark meaningful interactions to multiply your sales results with purpose and with ease. So we use this system in our business, and I wanted to bring you people who help you grow your business, monetize your business, so that we can work smarter, not harder. And I am here with Jane, and Jane really is an amazing friend. I know I say that to everybody, but really, for real. And thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited to share you with my tribe, my community, because you are a secret weapon in business. And I love that. So share with people. So I did your formal bio, but I want to hear your badassery, right? The stuff that's not in the formal bio. I want to hear, like, from your words. We don't really brag about ourselves. We're so humble, especially as women entrepreneurs.
Right.
But I want you to share, like, this is my superpower. This is what I've done. This is what I've accomplished, because you are a badass.
Oh, sweetheart. Takes one to know one, as they say. So here's what I'll say, that's a big request to sum up 36 years in business, 8 businesses with my husband, all of that, cred. I will say the badassery comes from really understanding that to be successful in business, you have to be completely 100% one in to really pursuing a problem that you want to fix. Like, right, if you take the thread of all of those businesses, I had a problem. I was facing my own challenges. I fixed it for myself. I did it for some clients, and we turned around and made it into a company. Because when you believe in something so much, and what I love about your community, Susie, is every single person I've encountered, whether it's on your live event or whether it's just, you connecting with people, everybody has a purpose on the planet, and they have something that they truly want to make a difference in. And you just have to be completely committed and be willing to take the risks. And my badassery is, I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to look stupid. I'm not afraid to take risks. And so that's allowed me to really, accomplish, we beat the odds of business success now 7 times. And the only reason I was able to do that is because I just kept going, and also found joy in the process. We can talk about that because, there's this more male, frenetic energy around badassery and making businesses work, but you can balance that out with ease and joy and feminine energy. And so maybe that's my badassery. I never thought about it that way, but it's balancing those 2 parts of myself to be able to take an idea and take it into fruition.
That is a badass, right? Because we do tend to get fit, drive. And it's like, wait, I want to have fun. I want, it has to be fun or I don't want to do it. Right. And so Absolutely. Talk about building those 7 businesses, right? And what keeps you in the game, right? To keep reinventing.
It's so funny. I mean, I was so happy about this being on my calendar today. I can't talk about being an entrepreneur without me mentioning my dad. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. I watched my dad take our family from, he would go out and shoot squirrel and rabbit to put food on the table to, creating multiple businesses that changed thousands of people's lives. And I learned a lot about business from him. And if you look at the 7 businesses, one of the key threads that I know you love, like I know your work, I've read your book, I'm a huge fan. What I know is that you will resonate with what my dad said to me. He came out, so this was our first business. My husband and I started with like $5,000 around the kitchen table. I had just graduated with my master's degree in business, and I decided to start a company. It was basically an import-export company. We were selling jewelry, right? And I started down the direct selling path. I was, building this business with $5,000, and he saw me busting my butt. He came out to visit us. And I was delivering these orders. We were making great money. The company was growing quickly, but I was doing the delivery. And I'll never forget what he said, Susie. He was like, it was around our dinner table that night. And he had seen Mari and I, because I was doing all this with my husband. And he said, sweetie, one thing I want you to know about business is if you don't have leverage, you don't have a business, you have a job, right? So you asked me about the 7 businesses. So that was my first business out of the gate. I was like gobsmacked. It's like, holy crap, I have a job. I don't have a business. And so from that point forward, whether it's my own businesses or my clients' businesses, I look through the lens of how to leverage. And every single one of those businesses, all quite different, all in the entrepreneurial space in some way. But whether it was me like nailing a sales record for QVC, back in 2003, I guess, but like, or building a sales force of 350 people who were selling my product. I had the idea. I made the idea plausible. It was like proof of concept. And then the first question I ask is, how do I leverage this so I can make it something bigger? So I think that's one of the, people who are listening to your podcast here, Susie, they're in all different stages. And what I often like to just point out is I've been at the startup stage. We're now relaunching one of my tech companies. It'll be my 8th business launch. I'm doing it now with my 24-year-old son. So like, talk about a vision coming to fruition. But what I will say is I've been at the startup stage, even though we count 7 businesses, I've been at it so many times because you're continually reinventing your business.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what do you count as a startup? Is the point that you start the business bank account, or is it the time that you reevaluate, right? Or retool your business? So I just want to give everybody hope that no matter where you are in your business, if you're just starting off with a new idea, or whether you're in that stage of like, something's not right, I need to reinvent it, you got this, and you just got to be tenacious and keep on being creative.
I love that you said that. During the summer, I have a second home in Oregon. I'm right on the water. I'm here now, right on the water.
I want to come.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I have a wall of trees in front of me with the river. It's like watching the Animal Planet live, right? There's seals in the water.
Oh, wow.
And they're eating the salmon because it's salmon season right now. But I have that same epiphany of like, this isn't fun right now. And so I love that you articulated it that way, because if it's not fun, if it's not bringing you joy, we always say that business is like this combination lock. Well, change the combination, right? Or figure out what is the combination. Because, in school, you'd stand there at the locker being late, hurrying, trying to open it up. And that's what I feel like entrepreneurs are doing in business. Like, I got to make the money. But if it's not fun and bringing you joy, the money never really comes, or the money that does come isn't rewarding.
Right.
Because it's such a drain.
It's hard. Like
it is. But it's good that you say that. We're always re-looking at the combination and going, what tick is off? How do I make this so that it's serving me, serving my family, serving my community, and it's not work, right? I know when I'm in my zone, it's never work. Okay,
let's go with your analogy. I just had a memory because I hadn't thought about those kind of locks in forever, and I'm going back to high school, right? So here's the analogy of that lock and what can happen in the trap of business. And I'm only going back viscerally to my high school, play for class, as you say, is that sometimes the reason we can't make the lock work is we're moving too quickly.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We're too rushed. We're moving too quickly. And that's really, when we decided, thankfully, because of our past, we're in the position where I could say to my team, okay, you guys, we're going to keep these 2 businesses that are already running. We're going to, y'all, we're going to, keep these moving, but I'm going to slow down. I'm not going to work as hard as I have, because when you're birthing something or when you're reimagining something, space is absolutely crucial. And that whole concept of the analogy of the trying to get the lock right, it's because sometimes we're moving too quickly and we don't quite hit that little niche on the lock. And so sometimes, just in that reinventing or in that pause, we're so frantic to create the results that we don't really take time to be like, oh crap, like this is what I should be doing.
Right. Stepping back and looking at it. I worked with my husband for 17 years, right? Same thing, grew a multi-million-dollar company. I would go in his office, he'd be sitting there with his feet up. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm thinking, I need time to think about what are we doing? And I'm like, get to work, it's just a slave driver. Not really, I was young when I started a business, so I didn't really appreciate the time to reflect. And, you say that, it seems so simple, but it's so hard. It's such a discipline to go, let me think about the whole business. Let me think about each element in the business. Let me think about how are we making money?
About me.
Yeah.
About me in this.
I love it. Jane's like, yeah, what about me? I love that. See, that's why we're great friends, because she's like, hello, what about you?
Hello.
So tell me, share with everyone, who do you serve? Like, what's your magic? What's, from a business standpoint, we're gonna go all over the place.
Right. Yeah, we'll go all over the place. So the two passions right now, so if you think about it, there's an umbrella, and there's really two companies that are underneath those two umbrellas. And they're tech tools. So, if you would have told me 15 years ago that I would be having two tech companies, I would have said you're crazy. But I'm blessed to be married to a guy who has a whole team of programmers. So that helps. But what I'll say is, so one of the companies is in the e-learning space. So we were one of the first, we created that whole e-learning technology back in 2005, when there wasn't even LMSs out there. So we had an association, we had members in 20 countries. I needed a way to deliver our programs to people all over the world. And so my husband created an e-learning platform that since then we have, we did back then, imagine $250,000 in 2 weeks in e-sales to 20 countries. And so the whole e-learning, what that's all about is it serves one of our guiding principles for our corporation, which is exponential empowerment, which means, Susie, when I empower you to reach more people, I expand my own ability to have an impact on the planet. So on the e-learning side, so we started off doing courses and such. Today, we still have that company. It's super strong, amazing clients. We really specialize now in the e-learning side with individuals who are really looking for what we call second level leverage. So it's not just about putting your course on a platform like a parking space for content. There's lots of other great LMSs out there for that. But if you're looking to scale, if you want to do certification, if you want to do white labeling, if you want to do licensing into corporations, we're your people, because we've done that so much for people. So, we've kind of carved out our niche in the certification licensing world on the e-learning side. What me, like you probably, I don't even know if you knew all that part of it.
I don't know all that part. I'm like, what?
I know. Yeah. So my favorite thing right now is helping people who either have a certification program and it's marginal, maybe not as effective as they want, or they might even be legally challenged. Like there's so many FTC requirements and certifications. So FYI, anybody, I'm going to give my personal email, by the way, because anybody who's in certification, I'm always happy to have a conversation, because I can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawsuits just to make sure your certification programs are solid and legally sound. So
that is juicy.
Now where me is the other technology company. So what we do is we support thought leaders. So these are speakers, trainers, authors, coaches, digital marketers, anybody who is wanting to humanize the sales experience is the phrase we're using right now. Because in the digital age, how the company came about is I had a list of 10,000. This was about 6 years ago. And I was so frustrated, Susie, because I didn't know who was at the other end of the email. Like that's a lot of people. And I take very much seriously my responsibility to provide great content. So I went to the team and said, I want to know who's at the other end of this email. What can we use as a tool for me to understand so that we're communicating the information they need based on, are they a beginner entrepreneur? Are they advanced? I also, wanted to make sure that I could see like who's ready for us and who's not. So interestingly enough, like such a cool thing, we went over to the e-learning side. So on the e-learning programs, in every orientation we were building for clients, we created an assessment. And that assessment allowed the individual to scale where they were on a scale of 1 to 10 in all these crucial areas to their success. So whether it was relationship or health and wellness or business or leadership, we had this tool over there sitting in our orientation. And all of a sudden we were like, hot damn, let's try that. And so the tech team actually made it kind of a standalone tool. We tested it for myself. We tripled our conversion because I knew who was committed, who was ready. We were able to serve our clients. And so then, of course, my clients are always my guinea pigs. So then we had a little test group of people that used it. And then 4 years ago, we launched a company that literally what we do is we help people create online assessments that they can use in their marketing to attract clients, to create more meaningful connections, to close more sales. We created that tech tool, and many of our clients can create an assessment in less than an hour using our templates and our swipe copy.
Right. That's so delicious.
Yeah, it's fun.
Love it. And I love that I learned the other piece. I mean, we've known each other for a while, and to not know that. Because we're always talking about assessments because we're both assessment geeks, right? We love it.
I know. And here's what I really appreciate, working with you and Sam, of course, who I love. Your whole team is amazing. But, what I love about the process of creating the assessment that you're using in some of your campaigns, what I love about that is it is the ultimate way of communicating to people who take that assessment. So Susie, here's what I know. When people take your assessment, not only are you giving them the gift of clarity and kind of like that, oh, wow, like here's where I'm on track, but here are the missing pieces. Something else happens when they take your assessment. There's a subliminal, we call it assumed genius is the phrase we came up with. But when a person takes an assessment that you've asked them to take, there's an automatic assumption that you have the ability to fix the places where they're scoring themselves low. Mm-hmm. And that's a subliminal message that is not manipulative, it's of service, but instantly in the process of them taking an assessment, they can actually see, okay, wow, I scored myself 3 or 4 here in these areas. Susie's my gal. She's the one that can help me get to a 9 and a 10. And so it's this cool thing that's happening because I don't know, Susie, I would love, like, what are you seeing? I know this is my interview, but what are you seeing? What I'm seeing is that digital marketing has made marketing somewhat impersonal and this one size fits all sort of offer. And so for us, why we're excited about assessments and taking it to this industry is it personalizes the experience. It allows you to save time. It allows you to create connection and ultimately find those ideal clients that are actually looking for what you have to offer.
Well, I've been using assessments for 30 years, right? I find that I don't want someone to tell me what they think they know about me, like earn the right to know about me. And so an assessment, you're judging yourself. I'm not saying you should be doing this, Jane. You're saying, here's my area of underdeveloped strength. Here's what I'm great at. Great. We don't need to worry about that if you're great at that and you're managing that, and that's amazing. Where an assessment can say, oh, here's my blind spot. Now, how do I work through that blind spot? So I love clients, love them. They're always our highest attend trainings when we do some kind of assessment, some kind of like, let's look at the secret sauce. I think the next level, which you bring to us, is the automation of it, right? Really capturing the data and then looking at how do I use this data to serve more? I think that's a genius and a sweet spot that you have. It's not, let's just do another assessment to sell more. No, let's use the assessment to serve more, which therefore equals higher sales.
Amen, sister. Like that's really what it's about. It's each of us. I mean, you attract people who I know have a servant's heart, and this allows them to not only do that, but I got to also say, one of the things I'm curious about, because you're working with individuals who have huge visions. Part of what your magic is, Susie, is you help them craft a bigger vision for themselves than they've ever had before. Yeah. And what I love to talk about when we talk about, because assessments, okay, it's a tool, you all get that, and we'll have a little next step that you can take at the end. But what I really want to talk about is people's relationship to sales and marketing. And what I've learned in my 36 years of working with entrepreneurs, that there is no more important shift than most people need to make is that relationship to marketing and selling. And, I have this thing called, well, there's a couple different, the disconnect. So one of them is a values disconnect, is that a lot of people feel that selling is out of alignment with their core values, right?
Yes.
And what I've learned is if you ask someone, this is way back when I was working in the direct selling market, where people were recruiting and selling products. But what I've learned is if you ask a person to do something that they believe is out of alignment with their values, they'll do it for a little bit, but they won't do it well, and they won't do it long term. And so part of what my mission, and I'm just using this little stealth tech company to do, part of my mission is to change entrepreneurs, especially thought leader, the coaches, consultants, speakers, authors, to change their relationship to sales and marketing, to have them see that it is actually not only it's not out of alignment with their values, it's actually the deepest expression of their value. And I think you and I are aligned with that, which for us to have a one-on-one conversation to see if we're a fit, you are in the highest state of service in that conversation. If you take away manipulation, if you take away attachment to the outcome, you have an opportunity, no matter what that outcome is, to serve an individual at the highest level. And in many ways, to have them feel seen in a way they've never been seen before. And so that's for me, sales is a relationship, human, evolving experience, and we use a tech tool to do that.
Well, I love your humility to this little assessment, right? This multi-million-dollar assessment. It's like, so what's the biggest mistake you see entrepreneurs making when it comes to their high ticket packages?
It's fun. Yeah. So, just overall business, the mistake that I see them making in, let's say, sales and marketing, whether they're marketing, because we have some people who are like a digital marketing firm and they're marketing more like automated offers. But I'd say like 70% of our clients who are using the assessment, they start off using the assessment in the process of the one-on-one high ticket conversation. I think the biggest mistake people are making is they're hopping on these calls. And maybe they've had people create a survey, right? Which is, the challenge with, for those of you who are like, you've put a survey in front of your high ticket enrollment conversation. So what do you have to do? Like, first of all, you've not vetted that lead. You're just basically hopping on. I want to just shoot myself, Susie, when I see someone who has a website and they're on the website, it says book a call and it goes straight to their calendar link.
No, right.
Right. So no, we want you to give your time to the willing. So number one, thank you for the articulation here. The first mistake is they're hopping on calls with people who are not their ideal client, which means they're not ready for what they have to offer. So they don't have a need that you can fill, and they're not highly committed to actually making an investment. And so we do a little commitment score on our assessments, as you know, where we're actually assessing on a scale of 1 to 10, how willing are you to invest in getting support? And then thirdly, we vet out, do they even value the opportunity to hop on a call with you?
Right.
So we take these 3 questions and we create what's called a commitment score. And the only people that are offered an opportunity to get on a call are people who scored a 24 or higher out of 30.
Right.
Now, it's mind-boggling because we can double a person's closing rate, not even talking about what happens on the call. We can double a person's closing rate from their high ticket enrollment simply by making sure they're only talking to the people who are ready and willing to take the next step. So
we always talk about that, like make sure that you're talking to highly qualified people, but they don't have a system in place to make sure they're qualified. It's like, I did this Facebook ad or it was a referral, which is all great. And if you don't know how to really, if you don't have a needs analysis, you don't have an intake process, this is step 1 to go, let's weed out 90% of those people that are looky-loos, right? Because nobody has time for that. I ain't got time for that, right?
Well, my friend Nancy Jetton, who was an early stage client, she said, no time for the brain pickers and the tire kickers.
Exactly. And I want to serve, but I want to make sure that, there's only so much time in the day. So let's talk about, we all have seen people struggling, based on what's happening in our economy, based on what's happened with the world. What's been your secret sauce? Because not only are you still growing a business, but you took some time to reflect, you're taking some time to really look at your business. What's been your secret sauce to be able to do that?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. And I do want to loop back to the other mistake on the high ticket enrollment, but let me answer your question. So what's been my secret sauce? Are you talking about like kind of going through what we've all been through and the change in the industry? And
Yeah, because you're thriving. You launched another business in the middle of a pandemic where we know statistically 49% of small businesses have closed their door, right? But there's a new surgence of new entrepreneurs, right, who are coming into the market not having any idea how to do this.
I know. I gotta say, like it's like a really personal thing. It's mindset and perspective. Mm-hmm. So when I go to mindset and I gotta be 100% honest. There's been some times in just this last year building the business with my son and I stepped in, I don't know if you know this, I stepped in as a CEO for a friend of mine to build his business during COVID. And he was like in this COVID proof, weird industry. And we ended up taking his business to $250,000 a year to $250,000 a month. So during COVID, I was spot on it. My other two companies were growing. I was playing with this guy's business. So I didn't really experience what I feel was sort of like a little PTSD until this year, 2021, because I was ramming and then I handed the keys over to my friend. He had his team, his business is rocking. I didn't really experience it this year. So maybe what I went through in the beginning of this year was similar to what some people were going through in 2020. But for me, I think number one for me, it was, I felt like I kind of lost my mojo. It was like, can I navigate, doing this in this world? So it was more like a motivational piece. And what I found there is I needed to have a bigger vision that was myself. And thankfully my son came to me, because talk about lighting a fire under your butt is when your son says, hey mom, let's build this business together. It's like, all right, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and we're going to do this again because I get to teach him. So having that, finding your mojo by having a vision and a mission that's bigger than yours. And then the other thing is just, navigating the perspective of your day. Like my morning practice is so sacred to me because, I'm just like everybody else. My feet hit the ground and I might have self-doubt. I might have fear. I might question who I am and what I'm doing on the planet. And I've got to have a daily practice of what do I say to myself as I'm walking to the kitchen and making the coffee? What do I do when I sit down in my favorite chair in my living room? I've got to have that daily practice that aligns me. Journaling is a big part of that. I do a practice called Journaling with Source. It's just reminding, like I have to remind myself every day, you're good, Jane. You got this. You're capable. This is important work. And I got to bring myself back so that I can look at my calendar and show up powerfully for important things like this call with you.
Right. Well, I think that's the power of your community, right? And I think as leaders, you have a tendency to be the one pouring into the community, like who's pouring into you. Like, I think that's why I love our relationship. It's
right.
Like, a colleague that I don't have to try to be the perfect person. I don't have to try to be your coach. We're just friends, business owners, colleagues. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what you're doing. So I think that's incredibly important to find the right tribe that can support you.
Right.
Entrepreneurs, who's pouring into you, who's saying, Jane, you can do this. You got those ride or die people that go, girl, you got this. You can do it. Because we forget. I don't care how many businesses I've started. I don't care how many millions I've made. You forget. You're
a total neophyte every time you're on the precipice of a new idea. Here's what I want to say. And for those of you, like I know this goes out to your podcast. So some of those people who are listening are already in your community. And I want to just give you a hell yes and a thumbs up for that. And some are not. But here's what I will say. Community has played an essential role. I hired my first coach back in 1986 when we founded our first business. And I remember to this day some of the things I learned from her. But fast forward, the biggest investment I ever made in a coaching program, I think it was the 100K one.
Yeah.
That was huge for me. But I will say it launched this company. It launched the company that you now know as Magpie. I launched the company that year. And part of what happened is like, I had no option but to come up with an idea, because I already had my other businesses, But it was like, yeah, I'm not here to plus those businesses. I'm here to launch something new. And so I anteed up and I put the money on the table and talk about motivation to say, okay, I'm going to go with a really, really good idea. And do you know that, Susie, you'll like this because you're a numbers person. Do you know that $100,000 investment I had recouped in the form of sales from this new idea within the first 7 months of the program?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. So, community is everything because,
I did the same thing. I hired my first $100,000 coach and I'm like, hell no, if I'm paying that, somebody's paying me that. So I immediately went and closed a client to go, okay, I could do this.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a little light and, under your butt, a fire under your butt to be able to be things, we talked a little bit about risk in the beginning, but I always love when I'm talking on podcasts to talk about risk because I think a lot of people, I was fortunate that I had a dad where actually risk was rewarded in my family, right? We used to have, I grew up in Ohio and we had this big lawn in the front and we had the snowmobile. And for him, fun was tying a tube to the back of a snowmobile with a big long rope. And the joke was like how quickly, because when you turn the snowmobile, it makes the tube, right? He used to say, well, how fast can I make it go so that she doesn't hit the tree? But I mean, it was crazy some of the things my dad would do. But what that did is it made me comfortable with risk because what I recognized, short of being killed by me hitting a pine tree, but what I recognize is there's nothing that you attempt that can really impact the core of who you are. Right. I've had so many failed launches and webinars that people didn't attend or closing rates that I was disappointed in, but it never shook my core because I know no matter what storm I face, I've always come through it. And whatever that current storm is, I know I can make it through. So that risk adversity can sometimes be a debilitating trait for an entrepreneur. And so just, come from that place of if you look back at all the things that you've already been through, may not be business related, but you've always come through and whatever you came through made you who you are today. And that gives you the courage to take some of the risks that you need to take in order to grow your business.
Right, which goes back to the combination. Like if you don't have the conversions, what part of the combination didn't work?
Yes.
Versus feeling like a failure, beating yourself up. I always say taking the stick and hitting yourself with it to go, no. There's just a combination misalignment to go, I missed something, right? That's why I love systems and I love assessments because it's a system to go do this, you get this, do this, you get this. And then you can tweak the system versus I have to be the superstar to make it all happen. I don't want that pressure. I want to go back to what worked. Why did it work? Okay, let me implement that again. What didn't work? Why didn't it work? Let me not do that again because that's business.
You know what I'll say, Susie? I wish that I had known you back then, like 3 businesses ago, right? Because I think everything that you now say to your tribe, I've been in your events, I've seen you work your magic. I had to tell myself that.
Yeah.
I didn't really have, I had coaches here and there, and yes, I've joined masterminds, but I think that, you're just so raw and so real. And that's so rare in this industry that I know that had I had gone back and had someone like you or you in my court, I think it would have made the process so much easier because me and I had to have a lot of pep talks and a lot of pull yourself up again, Jane, and go for it one more time. But I had to do that for myself versus having someone else do that for me.
So much better when someone else can pick you up, right? Because we will fall down. You will have, the bloody elbows, the bloody knees, the scars to prove it, right? So. And
I do actually, so there's a little voice in my head. And I did have a husband along the way, and he was really good at it. So I want to make sure I honor Mario because we've been at this for 37. This will be our 37th year, and he was there for me, but in a different way. That was my love of my life and my soul partner, not the business. Come on, Jane, get up, do it again. You can go one more time.
Right. So then let's talk about that. Looking back, 8 businesses, right? You're not counting this one yet because you haven't fully launched it, but you've already launched it. So,
that's right.
8 businesses. What's been like the one, people call it failures. I call it the cosmic boot, right? It could be the biggest challenge that you've had in business. And then what did you learn from it? Right. Nobody likes it when you go through it. I hate it when I go through it. I've talked about mine all the time because I want people to know it's part of building a business and building multiple businesses, right? We're both serial entrepreneurs. What's been the biggest failure? And then what'd you learn from that experience?
Oh my God. Damn you, girl. Okay. I don't think I've ever shared this on a podcast. I would say it was the first business. So we started with $5,000. We were 12 years in. I had my first child. So Alex was a blessing. He came in 1997. And between the business and between Alex, my husband got nothing. You know, we were building the business together. We were multiple millions. I think Alex was on like 40 airline flights in his first 6 months because I would just bring him with me and
fluffing the baby. Like, but I gotta work, so you.
Right. But Mario didn't get anything, and it caused major problems in our marriage. And you know, so the biggest mistake that I made is I didn't put my personal relationships and life first. And
girl, that gives me a little knot in my throat because, you know, my marriage did not survive because we put the business before our marriage. So I'm like, yeah, I understand, but you guys worked through it. So here's
what I'll tell you, like, oh my God, like this is, I don't know how much longer we have, but I remember that it was bad. So we were in the middle of selling that business. So not only like it was crazy. Like we're selling the business, we moved the entire business, put it in a truck, moved it over to the East Coast. We lived there and it was miserable. And I remember he asked me for a divorce. And I said, you know what? I said, you don't have self-love right now. You don't have love for yourself right now. How can you tell if you love me? So let's just put the pause on this. You do you, I'll do me. I took a job. I helped a friend build his business for my graduate school. I poured myself into something else and motherhood. I was there for Mario. But I said, you know, once you fall back in love with yourself, then you can decide if you love me. And so it was, Susie, it was a good 8 months to a year where we love each other. And so we co-created and we co-parented. But it wasn't until we made the pledge that, as you know, it's the Scarlett O'Hara moment, I call it, as God is my witness, I'll never put this relationship behind a business. And so in the following 6 businesses, now it's the 8th, and I have the whole dynamic of my son. Every single time, every business was smaller than it could have been. We were very successful, but I always chose life balance and quality of life over the bottom line. We've sold 3 businesses since then, but I could have probably made millions more and sold all of them had I said, I'm going to put the business first. So the biggest mistake I made was first time I put the business before my personal life and my relationships. Never made that mistake again. We've done pretty well for ourselves, but I'm sure that, you know, the zeros behind our net worth would have been so much more, but I would not have changed a thing.
I love that. Thank you for that vulnerability, because it hit home, right? Because we do that as business women and businessmen to provide for our family, right? And that's usually because, well, I'm providing for you. Well, no, you're not.
Because it's
financially.
Sexy. I mean,
what about emotionally and, you know,
right.
spiritually? And
the pull of business is sexy, because in that world, everybody thinks you're great. In that world, you get immediate feedback and it's not challenging. You know, your team does what you tell them to do. So business can be sexy because in that world, you're very much affirmed and you have a lot of control. And over in the personal world is where you don't feel capable, and it's where you are challenged. And so it's easy to be pulled to the business world. And I'm just so happy that we made that decision when we decided we're going to make this work, that we pledged to each other to never put business before our personal lives again. So,
but that was pretty enlightening, Jane, to say, you don't love yourself. How can you even love me? Let's take a break, right? I go drama. Fine. I don't want you anyway.
Right. Oh,
I commend you just in your enlightenment, because that was very enlightened, especially in the face of no agreement of someone saying, I want a divorce. Like, I love you so much. You're like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
No, you know what I actually did say? We were riding in the car. I can remember it now. This is in the car seat in the back. He was previously divorced. I have a beautiful oh God, she's now 30-year-old daughter, and I have 4 grandkids, and she was already in the picture. So he was previously married. And when he said, I want a divorce, I was like, you know what? You know how to do that. You already did that.
Yeah.
The question is, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to fix where we are? And I've been interviewed by a lot of book authors who write books on surviving infidelity. And it's really about everything in life. It's not just about this scenario, is right. When you're willing to take responsibility for your part in anything that goes wrong. Yeah. You hold the power to create the change.
Oh my God, this is such a juicy conversation. So what do you want to be remembered for, Jane? At the end, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, it's been the same personal mission that I've had ever since I started my career. And I want to be remembered for healing the entrepreneurial angst, whether that's through a business or whether through it's a message, or I've written books and I know I have books within me. I think the entrepreneurial journey is one of the most transformational, life-changing experiences, and it can be really, really challenging. And so whatever I do, I ask, does this ease the challenge and the pain of being an entrepreneur so that they can be in flow and be in joy and be content with the entrepreneurial journey? So yeah, I want to be remembered for healing the entrepreneurial angst for millions of people.
That's why you're my soul sister, my friend.
I know.
You're my soul sister. So how do we get to play with you? Like, I know you have some ways that we can play together. How do people find you? Like,
Thank you for asking that. So, I mean, I did, the certification conversation is interesting. So I'm going to give my email if you want to have a conversation around that topic. So it's just Jane@janedeuber.com.
And Deuber is Deuber. My name's hard to spell too, so I'm going to make sure.
Yes. Jane@janedeuber.com. Yep. So that if you want to have the conversation around certification, licensing, that's just lights me up. If you're interested in the whole concept of the assessments, if you are a thought leader, no matter what niche you're in, having an assessment where you give the gift to that person on the other end of the email to discover where they are, to discover what's not working, and to find out if it's a fit. We have a 14-day free trial. And so, what we've kind of fixed it up for you, Susie, to make sure, because we love just being generous and thanking you whenever you connect us with someone. So if they go to magpie.com and they click on the 14-day free trial and they just put you, Susie, in that link, then you'll have a 14-day free trial. You get lots of love from my team. They're there every single day. We have a concept, in the tech world. I don't know if you know this. In the tech world, Susie, like other tech companies are happy with 5% conversion, like actually implementing the tool. And we're like crazy, insane. We, literally about 80% of the people that come in and experience the tool, they actually find that it's right for them. So we just give you a lot of love and a lot of supports to see if assessments is a way that you can, attract your qualified prospects and create meaningful connections and close more clients. So that's what they can do, is we can invite them into the Magpie fold and let us help you play with assessments.
And so we'll have it in the show notes, and we'll have Jane's information in the show notes as well. Awesome. Jane, thank you. Thank you for being such a caring, wonderful, loving person and a badass businesswoman on top of that, right? We signed up for the 14-day and never looked back. Right? So
I know. And we have many, many more years to come of just knocking it out of the park. And Susie, I just want to acknowledge you. Like I said it earlier, I wish I had had someone like you in my business path. And I'm just so grateful and so happy for the people who found you, who are saying yes to you, and who are on the journey with you. You're a gift to everybody that gets a chance to work with you.
So set up time with Jane so then you can implement this, so you can really qualify those leads, so you're working smart, not hard. Follow a system, not your feelings. That makes the biggest difference in business. Thank you for being my sister in this journey, girl. I love you and I appreciate you.
Love you too, sweetheart. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at https://poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game, so be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.